that Dr. Richard Dunham is her psychiatrist, as he has always been. She knows that he saved them from the war in 1939, both her and her daughter Halsey. He made it possible for them to join the Boston court, held at the time by Quentin King, a child of Malkav like them. The rest is nothing but light and shadow. Leisha knows the names and sometimes even the stories of those around her without knowing exactly how or why. She remembers Quentin King, the previous prince, and his legendary obsessions, and more recently Hazel, the first year of her rise to power. Leisha remembers her warmly and fondly, despite only knowing her for a single year before leaving to be put into slumber at the Malkav Institute of Boston as prescribed by Dr. Dunham. Leisha suffers from sudden visions where the present moment and possible futures bleed into one another. She fights her gift in order to be fit to take care of Halsey. However, this does not serve the prince's plans, as Hazel views this power as a way to master fate and bolster her ambitions. Okay, and let's look at April then. April Bosley, 1st Herald, Clan, Toreador, Generation 12th, date of embrace 1999. Here we go. Sire, Robert S. Ziegler. Bay Village and Ambition. She's got longer. Leisha had so little I was almost hopeful for a second. Bay Village and Ambition. April was born in 1970 in Boston's Bay Village neighborhood. She studied fashion in New York before leaving to train with prestigious fashion houses across Europe. Upon her return to Boston in 1998, she founded her own house of high fashion. The unique anti-conformist elegance of her creations soon drew the attention of the divas of Boston. They naturally invited April into their social circle, where she found herself intoxicated by their charm. April found an inexhaustible source of inspiration in the members of the Clan of the Rose. The Trap. One member of the clan was a well-known art collector whom April met and became enamoured with. Their boundless passion pushed her to accept and embrace that she understood nothing about after only a few months. However, her lover and sire quickly lost interest in her after the pride of flaunting his conquest in the most fashionable spots in Boston. The first years of April's unlife were spent alone in solitude. She found refuge and support in one of MM's clubs, where she learned all about her new nature and the history of the kindred. There she met souls who were worn out by their mad hopes and suffering. The Bond. It was in this club where she first met Hazel Iverson, a kindred whose embrace and abandonment by her sire reminded April of her own circumstances. April admired Hazel for the way she was able to turn her situation to her advantage. April offered Iverson her support and her services. In thanks for her loyalty, Hazel granted her the title of Herald when she took over the domain. Traits. Trait menu. Traits are positive or negative effects that influence the abilities of the character in question. Traits are only revealed once they've been earned as a result of an action, a character's choice, or a consequence. Hunger. The hunger level, whether low or high, confers temporary traits that affect the character's abilities. Suspicion. As it rises, the suspicion rating creates more negative traits, traits that increase the difficulty faced by the characters. Put in her place. has encountered others more powerful than her, for now, something to strengthen her mind for future challenges. Minus 10 XP to the next experience cost for the mental attribute. I am hungry. The beast is near. I'm unreliable. Okay, talents. Talents increase your abilities. Each talent is tied to a specific action. Repeating these actions will progressively unlock the tiers of a talent. Rhetorician. Use the rhetoric skill. Increases its effectiveness. Threatening. Use the intimidate skill. Increases its effectiveness. Eloquent uses the persuasion skill, increases its effectiveness. Progression using the psychology skill increases its effectiveness. Discipline using the presence discipline increases its effectiveness. Progression, complete a quest without ascetic. Complete a quest without having hunted any prey. Feed on a prey without killing it. Feed on a prey killing it, and feed from a rat. Okay. That's it, is it? The Codex lists and explains many concepts from Swansong and the World of Darkness. The main characters you will meet are also listed in the Boston screen. Alright, let's have a look at them all. Clans. There's the Bruja, Gangrel, Malkavian, that's the one we like. Nosferatu. The Clan of the Moon, Children of Malkav, Lunatics. Psychologists would diagnose the Children of Malkav with schizophrenia, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder, sometimes all at once. Shit, that's me. Fuck. In reality, they have all of these things and none, like the wise madman of poetry. Oh my god. It's 30 minutes, we had some dialogue at the start. Can we cheat? Will you trust me that I know what's happening in Vampire the Masquerade. Can I cheat, kids? Because if I sit here and read all of this, that's going to be another half an hour. Just reading menus. Shit, I can't, can I? Okay, that sucks. Malkavian, the Clan of the Moon, children of Malkav, lunatics. Psychologists would diagnose the children of Malkav with schizophrenia, depression, obsessive-compulsive disorder, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes all at once. In reality, they have all of these things and none. Like the wise madmen of poetry, their derangement stems from seeing too much of the world at once, from understanding too deeply and feeling emotions that are too strong to bear. They self-medicate with blood, but this is just a temporary solution. It's long been the misconception that a few kindred families are as disparate as the Clan of the Moon. Other clans see them and reason they are each mad, so why should their respective origins matter? To the Malkavians, origins matter a great deal. Though sires may pick children from all walks of life, age groups, ethnicities and genders, every mortal selected for the embrace possesses something only visible to a Malkavian. One of the gifts the Malkavians look for in a mortal is what they call second sight. If a person interprets dreams, can perceive spirits, or unerringly predicts future events, the Malkavians take notice. Such a person acts as a beacon, calling out to every member of the clan that sees them. Another gift revered by the Malkavians is that of insight, a high level of empathy, finely tuned knowledge of a complex subject matter, or just an obsessive drive to pursue the answers to philosophical questions each appeal to the clan. As insight is often tied to profession, the clan benefits from a range of academics and doctors, especially therapists and psychologists. Finally, the Clan of the Moon are fascinated by the broken, individuals who have been changed by traumatic experiences, or who were simply born slightly detached from themselves and the rest of society. To the Malkavians, they are but one gentle push away from having access to an altogether different plane of reality. Rather than treating them as burdens, the clan see them as having great potential. All Malkavians suffer mental illness following the embrace, sometimes accentuating an existing condition, other times adding a new dimension to their instability. As if their thoughts and actions were based on otherworldly logic, there seems to be no knowing when their condition will manifest destructively or when it will offer important perspectives where such were previously lacking. As a rule, no other kindred feels completely comfortable around a known Malkavian, often viewing them as unpredictable maniacs whose flashes of insight are rarely worth the fits of insanity. Some Malkavians claim there is a common factor to their madness, that they are all psychically linked through a communal wavelength or shared consciousness of sorts. Those who are aware of its existence refer to it as the Cobweb, or more recently, the Madness Network. Clan, according to kindred mythology, Cain sired three Childer, who in turn sired Childer themselves. The third generation came into being before the Great Flood, and some say it was their sins that called it down. The survivors, each known as antediluvians, became the progenitors of the modern clans. Each antediluvian's blood endures in their descendants, feeding the common powers, weaknesses, and perhaps even the behaviours and beliefs of the kindred who belong to the clan they begat. Tonight, there are 13 distinct clans among the innumerable minor bloodlines, as well as their K-teeth and thin bloods, who prouder and more powerful lineages reject. Bruja! The Learned Clan, rabble. The dream of the Learned Clan is a world where all injustice has been eliminated and the living and the undead can coexist in peace. They say it is for the love of the mortals that they lead them against their masters. In truth, they may simply rage against a distant or non-existent god they can never fight, against a curse they can never end. Theirs is a dream that poisons everything it touches. As they infiltrate or instigate revolutions, their hunger and passion ensure that blood will flow, innocents die, and peace can never be attained. Clan Bruja have always embraced from the ranks of those sympathetic to counterculture and revolution. They seek out allies whose question normative ideas, and recognizing the fire of the oppressed, they gravitate towards the underdog. Common perception place punks, gang members, maladjusted immigrants rejected by the society that should protect them, and placard-carrying and Molotov-wielding rioters among the Bruja. While the clan definitely includes substantial members of vocal and visible outsiders, their desire for rebellion reaches as deep as the fraudster ripping off his own company, the lawyer representing the poor pro bono, the neo-Nazi claiming to be alt-right, and the basement dweller downloading thousands of movies illegally for redistribution on streaming sites. Fledglings embrace to fight and protest are commonly known as rabble. The Bruja can be passionate fighters but also critical thinkers. The clan activists are often very different from the clan theorists. On many occasions, the latter are embraced from former gender studies or sociology students, those who have survived near-death experiences, and people who have in other ways suffered and endured great personal loss. The philosophical Bruja, known as Hellenes, believe the best method of dismantling the establishment is to understand the social and cultural systems that allow it to exist in the first place. Ketif, The clanless, orphans. Not all kindred inherit the curse of one of the 13. Some don't care what their lineage is. Certain bloodlines of kindred have always been clanless, and sometimes the children of clans are just born different. They're often discarded, exiled, or choose to distance themselves from... This is so you can role play, yeah? And you roll your dice and make your dude. Except we're not doing that. We have pre-made characters. You can't make your dude in this game, by the way. I'm talking about the larger IP. They're often discarded, exiled, or choose to distance themselves from the clans that despise them. Pure vampires. The Catif make up for what they lose in respect and pedigree by flexible blood and the absence of a crippling bane. Proud or ashamed of their clanless nature as they may be, these creatures have no family and represents vampirism at its purest and most individualistic. Many kindred incorrectly assume all Catif are created accidentally, that the clanless target no mortals for the embrace. This view is outdated and ignorant. These nights the clanless are increasingly becoming a force to be reckoned with. Though more disparate, individualistic, and chaotic than their cousins, they are all survivors, and they have begun to gather, build alliances, and make children of their own. I'm pronouncing all of this wrong, don't worry. The Catif, who seek out mortals to perform the embrace, generally target the strong-willed and those used to uncommon hardship. By the way, I did know I'd be reading a lot in the start. That's why I'm trying to get through this quickly. I know it sucks. It's basically 2 videos of reading. But next time we play a Vampire the Masquerade game, I'm not going to recap any of this. I'm assuming you know it. The Catif who seek out... did I just tease a Bloodlines LP that I've been working on for about 8 years? A Catif's position in the hierarchy of kindred is at the bottom, just above the thin-blooded who should not have been born at all. And they are forced to fight for their place or fall and be forgotten. The Catif see a little point in embracing mortals unlikely to make it through the night on their own. While the Catif have begun to purposely increase their numbers, most are still created when a fledgling embraced into one of their clans does not form an attachment with the ancestral blood and does not exhibit the telltale signs of their clan's curse. When other kindred talk of the Catif, they tell tales of Nosferatu abandoned for weeks on end without ever developing any hideousness. Painfully sane Malkavians and young Ventru being able to feed from whoever they want, unable to accept such a child as one of their own, the clan abandon them, or the child senses in their blood that they do not belong. Nosferatu is hard mode, by the way. Despite their sire's protests, the creation of a Catif is not an exact science, and many abandoned children still manifest some of their characteristics of their parent clan despite the absence of their bane. Let's go and read about Nosferatu. The Clan of the Hidden, Sewer Rats. Those who doubt that the embrace is a curse need look no further than the Nosferatu. Twisted by the mark of Cain, members of Clan Nosferatu are warped by the embrace into hideous monsters. As such, they skulk and keep to the shadows, and they often arouse the ire and mockery of other kindred for their nightmarish appearance. Again, if I wasn't a mentally ill Malkavian, I'd be a hideous Nosferatu. That's just what I am in real life. Still others are terrified or revolted by the Nosferatu that these warped kindred have little social interaction at all. To their credit, the Nosferatu come to possess many of the whispered secrets of their reluctant fellows. For the Nosferatu, the embrace is a journey through abjection, as the blood of the horror gradually deforms the struggling tissues of the human body into grotesque abominations. Weeks of pain result in deformities similar to terrible birth defects, cancerous growths, crippling injuries, and leper-like sores. Those who endure it find themselves as monstrous echoes of Murnau's silver screen vision, but perhaps pain and humiliation teaches compassion. The Nosferatu, as they jokingly call themselves, are the most humane of the kindred, wearing their curse on the outside rather than the inside. To blend in, some call on the blood to wear the borrowed faces of their victims or disappear from sight, while others rely on prosthetics and heavy makeup. The sewer rats enjoy a grudging respect as the information brokers of the kindred, given their supernatural acumen at stealth and the fact that many kindred would rather ignore them than acknowledge them. Savvy Nosferatu exploit this for all it's worth, turning the hypocrisy of other vampires to their own profit. On the whole, the Nosferatu condition is lonely and alienating. How they react to the curse of Cain varies with their outlook and mental stamina. But it's hard to be an object of utter revulsion and not let it shape one's disposition towards one's kindred in some way. Some of the sewer rats are cruel, as blighted on the inside as they are on the outside, while others are tragic, wretched creatures who have been cursed with eternal outsider status through no fault of their own. A few of the sewer rats even position themselves as prophets of avatars of the damned, physically embodying the haunting riddle, a beast I am, lest a beast I become. Gangrel. Wolves, animals, ferals. A hunger older than mankind burns inside the wolves. When other kindred curse their appetites and choose the gilded cage of the city and the leash of social hierarchy, the wolves accept the beast as part of themselves and run free. Crossing borders between species, nations, and domains with the ease of perfect predators, they belong to the wild and the wild belongs to them. To think of them as noble savages is perilous, as the animals have little respect for the arrogance of civilization, and only the strongest survive their bloody hunts and savage initiations. Trading stories of war and secret histories of their kind around campfires lit with the bones of their oppressors, they have turned their back on the Camarilla and fight tooth and claw to escape the endless plots of their fellow kindred. Clan Gangrel are outcasts, wanderers, rogues, and hunters. They make havens in the poorest parts of the city and feel no shame for doing so. They claim few domains as their own, but defer to no prince. If a feral enters a city, the prince will either accept it or have to fight the feral to get them to back down. Gangrel embrace from the ranks of survivors and fighters, leaders of prison crews and gangs, explorers, urban and otherwise, any kin who sees the world as something to traverse instead of something to hide from. They care not for looks or title, but for accomplishment and reputation. A child may be a challenge, but the clan follows rituals and initiations to ensure the fledgling is worth the time. Success means a new honoured member of the clan. Failure means something simply a forgettable reject or a pile of ash. Any mortal capable of projecting their will on to others, leading a group from disaster to success, or fighting impossible odds draws the clan's attention. This fact results in a symptom known as too many chiefs, where the clan consists of more leaders than followers. Customs encourage fights for dominance, but these rarely last until final death, as Gangrel elders advocate against taking competition for authority personally, instead encouraging a culture of healthy rivalry. Let's go for Tremere. Usurpers, warlocks, a hermetic mage in 8th century Romania. Tremere was the leader of a cabal of magic users, rightfully feared for their obsession with knowledge and power. Able to prolong his life unnaturally for centuries, his powers eventually lessened and his grip on youth became shaky. Unable or unwilling to accept his own mortality, Tremere cast his eyes on the hallowed secret of immortality. In his greed, the mage instigated the most terrifying magical experiments ever conducted, damning himself and his followers to the hell of their own making. Thousands of mortals were murdered and hundreds of kindred vivisected and drained in ritual circles before Tremere and his cultists thought they had found the elixir of life. How surprised they were to have discovered the curse of Cain. Terrified, they died and woke again to an eternity of unlife and hunger, cut off from their craft. In a mockery of their former magical rituals, now only fresh blood allows the Tremere to cast their thaumaturgic spells to twist reality. After the Second Inquisition destroyed the Prime Chantry in Vienna in 2008, the Tremere fell from grey eminences to persona non grata in many regions. The arrogance of the pyramid had made the usurpers few friends, but the need for sorcery has not disappeared. If anything, it grows. As the curse, blood shifts in the veins of the kindred. Without the pyramid ordering them into rank and value, the warlocks find themselves competing with their fellow kindred and increasingly with each other for anything that might allow them to regain some of their former power. A clan-wide chase for artifacts and grimoires belonging to their ashen ancestors rival the social intrigues in ugliness, and the alliance with the Camarilla is an oft-used weapon between the houses of Clan Tremere. Meanwhile, the term mercenary magus is becoming increasingly widespread, as warlocks who were formerly bound by the will of their masters find themselves free to serve for whatever price they choose. Tremere serve in three ways. The warlocks serve the other clans with occult expertise, they serve the Camarilla with blood sorcery, and they serve themselves with their missions to grasp power. 46 minutes we've been going for. And most of it has been me reading menus. Though more Tremere ascend to Praxis these nights than ever before, they still claim fewer thrones worldwide than Clan Nosferatu. In truth, most warlocks acknowledge that becoming the prince is only useful if it helps them expand their knowledge. Tremere sees true power as knowing the ways of shaping the world, having access to the right blood, and owning the rarest of ancient artifacts. As the Tremere ally with confused coteries seeking them out, hunt for well-protected relics and artifacts, or closely analyse fragments of lore relating to the Cainite mythos, all the while miserly guarding their secrets from each other, they are all united in their thirst for knowledge. A kindred who wishes to understand a piece of their history will do well to approach the Tremere for answers, as long as they are at peace with sharing a few secrets of their own, knowingly or otherwise. Ventrue. The Clan of Kings, Blue Bloods. In their own eyes, only the Clan of Kings has the restraint, the wisdom, the control, and the pedigree to lead their kind through the night. Throughout their time as the god kings of ancient Babylon and lords and ladies of the Dark Ages to their contemporary roles as guardians of royal blood, majority shareholders, and campaign fund backers, they have been obsessed with the impulse to rule. They collect their tithes in the forms of precious blood, ensuring the growth of their legacy. You fucking idiot. While many other clans claim positions of influence in politics and business, no one can rival the Ventrue in the game of pure power and wealth. But lately, their arrogant projections as divinely chosen rulers, better fit to lead than any other clan, have begun to falter. Time is running out. They feel their privileges slipping through their fingers. The Ventrue tighten their grip and fight fang and claw to remain in control as the masters of their kind. Clan Ventrue has long been the leaders of the Camarilla, holding more positions of power than any other clan. They are loath to give that up, even after losing their most prominent representative to a Bruja assassination. The Ventrue continue to maintain they are destined to rule all kindred, no matter the sacrifices involved. The pronunciation, I don't care at this point. Didn't realise there was as much text. The Ventrue believe in the strength of tradition and lineage, so I hate them. I always hated them, by the way. Just the whole old money, old blood thing. The embrace is one of the most important rituals, and the choice of child affects the way other members of the clan treat the sire. Ventrue therefore aim to embrace overachievers, politically or financially powerful kin, or those with the talent that sets them apart from the masses. I'm glad I had a drink out. These knights of Ventrue are cautious, the talentless fall by the wayside, while the best blend in with humanity's bankers, shadow directors, reclusive moguls, and chiefs of staff. No longer can a Ventrue openly lead a board or take a prominent position in the mortal community. They resent having to influence their surroundings from the shadows, but know that the risk of a fatal Masquerade breach is too high to risk anything else. Remember, we can't breach the Masquerade. The Ventrue are the establishment. They set and maintain the rules, punishing those who break them and occasionally rewarding those who follow. Their critics consider them tyrants or the jailers of other kindred. The uncomfortable truth is that without them, the Masquerade and the Camarilla will have fallen long ago. The Ventrue are more loyal to their cause these knights than ever before, adversity only making them more determined to succeed and more certain that they have the right to do whatever it takes. Toreador, last one. The Clan of the Rose, Divas. Saved them for last, by the way. Cursed by their unbridled sensuality, the Divas are obsessed by aesthetic perfection. A fashion model overdosing on a bad batch of heroin, a video of a perfectly executed beheading, the dazed eyes of a child who has seen too much, or the reflection of the moon in a pool of blood. These are the kind of things that make a Toreador lose themselves. At least this one's short. Thank you for the short ones, by the way, game. They say the first diva finally died in front of their looking glass, unable to tear their gaze away from the image of their face touched by the reflected dawn. But to dismiss the Toreador as wanton perverts or shallow artists is the last mistake a kindred will ever make. Beauty is power, and love can make anyone do just about anything. And that is the promise of the Toreador. They can make even the dead feel something raw, something real. Clan Toreador has ever preached the selectiveness in its rituals of the embrace. The clan elders stress time and again that the clan requires pioneers among the arts and every kind of avant-garde. The clan is at its strongest when comprised of the freshest thinkers and those who desire experimentation and aesthetic discovery. For this reason, many Toreador emerge from the ranks of accomplished artists, both new and faded. But not all artists need to wield a brush. Thank you. To the Toreador, art encompasses all forms of entertainment and stimulation. The clan courts the greatest actors, singers, writers, dancers, and even sex workers, if the degenerates believe such mortals will offer something new to their clan. Just even sex workers, like it's a bad thing. Despite the custom of embracing only the best, the Toreador fixation on beauty and innocence has caused many a diva to make a fledgling in haste. Many a moonlit night, new clan members have emerged as shallow hedonists, one-hit wonders, or just a stunning body with nothing else to offer. The greatest mistakes are erased and forgotten. Still, the clan is diverse, its members considering the ensemble as a kaleidoscope of talent and beauty. Let's close the clans. Sects. Camarilla. Prince. A vampire who has claimed a given expanse of domain as their own, generally a city, and supports that claim against all others. The Red Salon. A low-profile and comfortable place where the boss and kindred who can afford it go to enjoy mortals that have been expertly prepared by Dr. Richard Dunham. Primogen. Primogen Council. Representatives of the major Camarilla factions in the area. Whether they are clan elders or a gathering of those who hold the largest hunting grounds, they speak directly to the prince, who will do their best by listening to their advice. More than one lord has been ousted by their own council. Anarch. Baron. An anarch leader ruling over a domain. This is the anarch movement's equivalent of a prince. World of Darkness. The rest of this video is me reading this text because I've got stuff to do. The Beast. Every vampire possesses the beast, a force within that pushes them to serve their baser instincts. There are urges of violence and perversion, this would be the hunger meter by the way, that are constantly threatening to turn the vampire into a ravenous monster, completely devoid of reason. There's a real danger for the Masquerade. Again, the whole thing is to go out there, trick people, eat them, and no one knows. That's the goal of Vampire the Masquerade. Blood bond. Anyone who drinks the fresh blood of a vampire becomes progressively more attached to their donor until finally, after 3 drinks or more, the bond reduces them to servile lackeys when in the donor's presence. Vampires call the one bonded the thrall and term the source of the bond the regnant. When under a completed blood bond, the thrall experiences a sense of loyalty, sometimes even infatuation towards their regnant. They attempt to please their master, becoming wary and eventually even terrified of angering them. Blush of life. Unless intentionally brought to a semblance of life, the body of a vampire is functionally dead. Undeath signifies its presence in pale or ashy skin, cold flesh, and a lack of breath, except to speak or a heartbeat. By sending their blood through the dead capillaries of their skin and into their shriveled heart, a vampire can appear completely human for a night, including but not limited to a heartbeat, body temperature, and breath. You can get hard. The vampire can even pass a cursory medical examination, although they still fail more intrusive screenings for minute tells such as the absence of intestinal flora. Vessel, donor, vulgar, a source of blood for sustenance or pleasure, primarily mortal. Let's go crack open a cold one. Yeah. Coterie, a small group of kindred, united by the need for support and sometimes common interests. Diablerie. Amaranth, archaic, an act reviled by most vampires. Diablerie involves drinking another vampire dry, ingesting not only their blood but their very essence. Vampires with a religious bent speak of consuming the victim's very soul, and those who can sense auras can clearly see the stains affecting the perpetrator. Embrace, the act of transforming a mortal into a vampire. The embrace requires the vampire to drain her victim, and then replace that victim's blood with a bit of her own. Final death. Though no longer mortal, vampires still face the possibility of final death. A vampire who dies once again is said to have suffered the final death. In addition to fire, sunlight and decapitation, vampire flesh cannot withstand endless traumatic force. Enough bullets can drive them into torpor. Once in torpor, the vampire becomes a helpless target for their foes, which is something you need to think. If you open up on one of these dudes with a Gatling gun, eventually they basically get knocked out, and then you can steal them in concrete and they can't move. Assuming you don't want to set them on fire, expose them to the sun, or decapitate them. You want to keep them alive, but yeah. Generation. The number of steps between a vampire and the mythical Cain. How far descended from the first a given vampire is. A sire is 1 generation lower than their child. An 11th generation kindred sires a 12th generation vampire. All vampires gain their unholy prowess from the blood, but not all blood is equal. The closer a vampire is to their mythic progenitor Cain, the greater the potential of their vitae. A vampire's generation does not necessarily indicate their age. An elder might have sired a vampire of the 10th generation when Columbus sailed. A Methuselah could have begotten a vampire of the 6th generation last year. Ghoul. A mortal who drinks a vampire's blood becomes something both more and less than human for a time. Derisively called a ghoul by Western vampires, the mortal gains a smidgen of the power of the true vampire. The vitae consumed not only brings a rush, but also arrests the aging process. The effects are temporary, however, and if weaned off vampire blood, the mortal deteriorates rapidly as the years catch up with their halted aging. Vampires use ghouls as retainers, where loyalty outweighs keeping the masquerade. Hunger. Part appetite, part lust, part addiction. Hunger gives voice to the blood and claws to the beast. It calls to vampires constantly, whispering and screaming of needs, urges, and desires. Every vampire... We didn't have to read any of this, by the way, but if you put it in your game, I'm going to spend an hour reading it. Urges and desires. Every vampire awakens to hunger and must kill to completely silence it. The kindred pay for their immortality and their powers in hunger, and the bill is always coming due. Kindred. Cainite, archaic, the Camarilla term for vampires as a whole or a single vampire. According to rumour, this term came about in the 15th or 16th century after the Anarch Revolt, or Anarch Revolt. I just wanted to say Anarch because I wanted to say anal. Masquerade, the great conspiracy hiding the existence of vampires from mortals, designed to protect vampires from destruction at the hands of mankind. The Masquerade was adopted after the medieval Inquisition claimed many kindred unlives. This is the only Camarilla tradition universally respected, but also the one that is broken most often. A sloppy feeding with witnesses, a vulgar display of undead might, a confession to a beloved mortal. These things happen, but kindred are expected to clean up after themselves or there will be hell to pay. The Crime World Code Snitches Get Stitches doesn't even begin to describe how seriously both the Camarilla and the Anarchs take the Masquerade. In the age of social media, clickbait and fake news, a Masquerade breach is easily overlooked by the masses, but any transgression can end with a Black Ops team kicking in a Haven door. That's the fun part, that's the bit we used to play. Only the craziest of K-Knight superiority fanatics dream of an age where they can rule openly. The rest have faced reality. The undead fare better as parasitic powers behind the throne than as great predators or infernal lords of human dominions. The Hartford Chantry.